This is Christy Powell with the Women Talk Construction podcast. We're here today with Alicia Woods and Angela Gardner, my co-host. Angela, hi.
Hello.
Alicia, hi. It's good
Hello.
to see you. I love your background. For those who are
Oh,
just
yeah.
listening, you'll have to go to the YouTube
Super
channel and
cool.
see her background. It's very cool. Alicia's here with us today, and we're going to talk about proper fitting PPE. I know it's
Yes.
a big topic, and I know it's really important to me. But one of the things that I want to share first is just a little bit about Alicia. She's had over 20 years of experience in the mining industry. I had a best friend who I considered my spiritual father, who literally grew up in mining. So while I worked with him, I literally learned everything there was to know about mining, even though I knew nothing. I felt like I had worked there for 20 years myself. So it was really cool. It's a very cool job. There are not a lot of women in that role either,
No.
less than 1%, I would assume.
Probably in
Uh,
mining, period. No.
yeah. Alicia knows what it and really understands what it means to push boundaries. I think having so many impactful women on our podcast like Alicia that are really pushing boundaries where we need it the most is really important. But other than that, she is the CEO of Covergalls Workwear and a principal consultant for CG Aligned Consulting. So we're excited to have her here. And one of the things that's really important to me is confidence. Everybody hears me talk about confidence a lot. And when I worked in the field, the clothes that I had to wear did not make me feel confident in my role. Not in the field, not in an office. I just never felt confident unless I had on the clothing that made me feel that way. I know it's within, but it does make a huge difference how you appear and how you present yourself. Maybe not to everyone, but it does to me. So we're really excited about having you on today, Alicia. Please tell us a little bit more about yourself, and we'll get into the nitty gritty of all the great things that you're doing.
Definitely. Well, first of all, thank you very much, Christy and Angela, for having me. Super excited to be here. And I think just to kind of start off, Christy, there was two things that you said that, really resonated with me and are very similar. I think number one, this podcast that both you and Angela are doing with Women Talk Construction, you talked about how it's kind of bringing these islands together where women, at times in the respective industries feel like they're on islands, and the podcast is bringing them together. And I like to think that's exactly what we're doing at Covergalls. That was one thing that we saw on Dragon's Den when we launched the product was it instantly kind of brought these islands together, and we felt like we were building a real community. So thank you for doing that. The other thing is, as you said, you feel like you grew up mining, and I often say that too. Having been born and raised here in Sudbury, Ontario, home of the Big Nickel, mining was all around me. So I too felt like I grew up in mining, and also had the opportunity to grow up in a shop that my family started where we designed and manufactured underground equipment. So that's really
Nice.
kind of where my background and where I started.
Awesome. So
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about how I mentioned this just with my confidence, right? How properly fitting PPE can enhance our safety, can enhance our confidence, and the comfort that we would have in our non-traditional roles for women.
I mean, I think if you just think of clothing overall, clothing empowers a person, right? Clothing reflects who you are as an individual, reflects your personality, but take that one step further into workwear, right? And having proper fitting workwear will empower that individual. It'll make them feel safe, it'll provide health benefits, and it'll make them feel included in the roles that they're doing in those industries. I reflect back to when I started in the mining industry, and to start in my role really wearing my father's clothing, how included did I feel in that industry, right? So, and I think, Christy, you hit some good, you touched on some really good points. It provides confidence. And when you're confident and secure, it translates over to a more productive and safe work environment.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Christy, you weren't at our last Women Construction Forum meeting, but actually, it happens with clothing too. And Alicia, you might agree with this. See it, believe it, see it, and see that you can. But one of our ladies was wearing a shirt And then this other lady in construction, they were both PMs, project managers, and she was like, I love your shirt because I guess she wears tighter shirts. She is not comfortable. So she wears this vest over them. She's hot on a job site. She was like, Jackie, where do you get your shirt? I really like that. I think I'd feel more comfortable in it. And, so even when you see other people and what they're wearing, you get ideas, and I bet that's what they do with your product as well. So I used to have an apparel company. It was not PPE wear at all, but I learned a lot about sourcing the fabric, even the down to finding your fabric. Like I'm curious how long it took you to actually get your product to market, because for us it took at least 2 years, and it was a very small item. Like, because you got to source your product, you've got to find someone to actually make the samples, and then you got to try them on and then redo that. And then you probably have a few sewing machines at your place so that you can, and I don't even know, do you have a designer that you've hired to actually make your oh gosh, what am I, like your sample pieces, or your pieces that you fit with? And what are your size ranges? Share
Oh
with
my
our audience
goodness.
a little bit about your actual product.
So it has been quite the journey, to think that I've been at this for over a decade now. And, for me, my background is underground mining equipment. So I could help you to build a piece of equipment, on paper and in the shop, everything from electrics to hydraulics to powertrain. But, when I entered the world of workwear, I just assumed it would be easy, right? I mean, we wear clothing every day. Like, how hard
Mm-hmm.
can it be? And I quickly realized the challenges. And I think, number one was finding a manufacturer that would actually produce the product for me. So if you think back, a decade ago, the second I said to a manufacturer, I want to produce female workwear, the phone stopped ringing. Nobody would call me back. The emails weren't being returned. And it took me
Really?
took me well over a year just to engage with the manufacturer who would actually consider producing the workwear for me. So that was challenge number one. Challenge number two, I do not have any sewing skills at all, Angela. So I do not have a sewing machine. If anything, my husband can actually sew things, better than I ever could, and my daughter too. But I remember, like, I had this idea for modifying my own coverall, right? I remember being stuck underground. I had avoided taking everything off to go to the washroom, but now I'm stuck. I have to use a porta potty. It's got no door. And it was just an absolute, disaster trying to take off that one piece in complete darkness. So I went home, I looked at my coverall, and I thought, I have to make modifications. So I took a gingerbread cookie cutter, I traced it on a piece of paper, I blew it up, and I had arrows pointing to the things I wanted changed on it. So I brought that paper and my coverall to a local seamstress and said, please make this coverall, fit me better and function.
Nice.
And so that's kind of how it started. And I think, fast forward, I've always been a big believer of surrounding yourself with the right support system, whether it's,
Yeah.
personally, professionally. And,
Yes.
for me, I took that approach launching Covergalls. I mean, I'm not an expert in fabric. I'm not an expert in standards. So I started working very closely with 3M to
Mm.
understand, their high vis standards, and they
Mhm.
were super receptive and supportive, and even to this day. And I think on the fabric, just teaming up with, fabric suppliers and building a
Mm.
relationship with, like, Milliken, using their Westex FR fabrics, again,
Mm.
just making sure those expert pieces are around us so that we can deliver not only safe and proper fitting workwear, but quality and
Mm-hmm.
certified garments.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, lots of learning.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
And
I
and I
mean,
think,
I just
go
learned
ahead.
everything you just said. It was like news to me. Like, I just learned everything just now.
Yeah, and as far as the sizes, Angela, like, that was a whole other learning, right?
Oh
Because
yeah.
again, it was the coverall was made for me, and we kind of graded from there. But not all women's body types are the same.
Mm-mm.
So we have
No.
evolved since then. We offer everything from XXS right to 5XL, and we also do custom workwear programs too for
Oh
perhaps
wow.
somebody that doesn't fit in that standard size
Yeah.
range, but still wants to work in the
They might
industry.
be
And
taller or shorter, and
Very
yeah.
cool.
exactly,
And you said
yeah.
maternity wear too, right?
Very
Yeah,
You
we
cool.
mentioned
actually
that.
we launched that because I think if we want to attract and retain females in all of these wonderful
Yeah.
industries that have tons of opportunities, this could be part of their journey. And I know for me, I was still capable of working and I wanted to work.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wore the biggest coverall and hope that nobody could see that my belly was growing, because I also didn't want them to tell
Oh
me I
yeah.
couldn't work. But
Yeah.
at least let's make sure that these women are safely outfitted and they feel included.
I
Yeah,
love it.
absolutely. My water broke on a job site, so I
I didn't
completely
know that.
understand.
Oh my
Yes,
goodness.
with
Oh.
Madison, yeah, my youngest, and my husband. It was something else. My husband was telling me later that I can't believe you're on the phone all the way to the emergency room telling your boss like what was covered, what wasn't covered. Like I was literally still in work mode because I was a month early when
Me
my water
too.
broke. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I was on
So
my computer in the hospital bed, so I feel you, Christy.
yeah. I mean, that's just what we do, right? So it's not like we can't perform when we're pregnant. I loved my job. The last thing I wanted to do was take off work early. I mean, obviously I had to that day. I didn't have a choice. But yeah, I really wanted to work up until the baby was born. Obviously I did. But
Oof.
there are a lot of generations of women that we can support by having all
Yeah.
the options that you've given, Alicia, and I appreciate that so much. So, one of the things that we are talking about this month, because we are recording this in September, it's Mental Health
Mm.
Awareness Month. And what I don't think everybody understands is the mental correlation of your proper PPE fitting. um, how
Mm.
does it affect your health, Alicia? Like, I know you get a lot of people that are probably talking to you about how important it has been to them and how it's mentally helped them. Like, I just shared my short little story about, just not feeling confident in the clothes that I had to wear. Um, Tell us a little bit about why this matters for our health and for our mental health.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's part of that like psychological safety piece, right? And just making
Mhm.
sure that you feel
Mm,
psychologically safe. And workwear is part of that. I think you want to make sure that you feel included, that you're being recognized for the work that you're doing. And I think too, women that are provided with, let's call it male PPE and workwear, sometimes they don't want to put their hand up and say, this is not safe, this is not working for me,
mm,
because they don't want to rock the boat, right? And so that plays a mental toll. It's something in the back of your mind. And do you bring it up, do you not bring it up? And so we do find at Covergalls we are the voice of those individuals that aren't comfortable saying something to their employer too, right? So we kind of advocate on their behalf and kind of educate companies and organizations on why it's so important to make sure they're in safe and proper fitting PPE, because this is not about fashion, right? This is
yes.
No.
not about that piece. This is about, workwear. It's, PPE is meant to personally protect the person, yet we are putting women in ill-fitting PPE every single day. So that does have a toll on the mental. So I think, again, when you have something that fits you properly, it
Hmm.
empowers you, it provides confidence, and it just translates into so many positive benefits. And I remember three young females coming to find me to share their story about the Covergalls. And they said they went to this underground mine site for a tour. And when they got there, they kind of went in the trailer with all the guys and got dressed up. They came out of the trailer and the tour organizer said, "What are you girls wearing?" And they said, "I don't know. We just went here and got changed." He said, "No, come with me." And we'd set up a part of the trailer with Covergalls donated products. And those three young females said it wasn't until they stepped in that room and started to change into proper fitting workwear then they felt like they belonged in the mining industry. And it instantly changed their mood. They were excited, they were
Ah,
happy, they were proud to
Mm.
be there that day. And they, found me months later at a talk I was giving just so that they could share the power of what that workwear did for them.
mm. Thank you so much for sharing that story, Alicia. It does make
Mm.
a huge difference.
Yeah.
And if
Yes.
if you don't have proper fitting PPE, please speak up. So you listeners, ask for it, because a lot of times, we got our nose down and we're doing all these things and we're not paying attention to everyone around us. And if somebody came to me and said, "Hey, this doesn't fit," I would do everything I could within my company to try to find something that did fit for them. So just speak up. Sometimes we're afraid to speak up. I think it's really important for us to ask for proper fitting PPE if you want
Oh
it.
yeah.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think Christy, to build upon that too, I recently had a conversation with a client and it was a male procurement person. And he said he always just kind of dismissed it. He never understood the real reason and the importance behind it.
Mm.
But we had provided some cover gals for fitting, and he said he watched the women tried on and like instantly saw that there was a size and fit difference, but like their personality was changing. They were happy, they were thrilled, they were exciting, they were like, kind of moving around. And he said it wasn't
Awesome.
until he actually saw it that he realized and recognized why it was so important. So I think sometimes it's just, people just don't know until they're educated, or at least that we continue to raise awareness, which, podcasts like yours are doing.
Yeah, we hope so. That's the point, right? Our passion is to get those messages
Yeah.
out.
Oh yeah. And you just shared two awesome stories with our audience. And you're so right that stories really do make the change happen because they
Mhm.
hear it and then they say, "Oh, look, listen to the benefits of this." Can you share with us any? I'm sure you've got loads of them. Can you share with us maybe two more so that maybe we have, a leader within the company actually listening and they hear about this or she does and says, "Oh, maybe I need to look into this for my people because they might come to work because they have proper fitting PPE or they'll love their job better or they'll talk about our company and hire, attract more talent." Share with us a few more stories.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely have a ton. I could probably read a book, but I do actually want to share with you some stats, which I think are quite
Nice.
Yeah,
scary.
yes.
So the CSA, the Canadian Standard Association, commissioned, kind of a study and a report, and they put this report out, and they say the three most common problems that Canadian women who were surveyed have with PPE is 50% say it doesn't fit properly, 43% say it's uncomfortable to wear, and 35% are saying inadequate selection. But the more scary thing about that is 58% it's the wrong size, but
Mm.
38% use a workaround. And what a workaround is, and I know certainly I did it too, was like tucking things in, pinning things, but they're also taking it as far as like modifying like 5-point harnesses to fit them properly, which,
Mm.
if you think about it, that's like an engineered device, and they are taking them home and modifying them so that it
Really?
fits them on the job site. So, like that workaround, they're using elastic bands and all the things that they're doing
Mm.
because they want their proper, their workwear to fit. And it reminds me of a story of Bailey. I call her my original cover gal, and Bailey is a geologist. And a decade ago, she was working up at the Yukon, and she had to go on a scissor lift, and she actually got her coveralls caught in the piece of equipment, and
Mm.
she discovered Covergalls. We had just launched, and she reached out to me, and I immediately sent her a pair so that she could have, she could wear a safe pair of coveralls that would not get caught. And when she started wearing them, the management there instantly saw the safety benefits, saw how
Mm.
it made her feel included, and without hesitation actually replaced the coveralls of the other 10 women that were operating at that site. And so, Bailey to this day is an advocate for cover gals and a huge supporter. And now she's up in Alaska and she's doing the same thing with another organization, educating them and raising the awareness around why it's so important.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're exactly right that if it doesn't fit you, it's going to get caught somewhere. Or if it's a harness, it's not going to be correctly
It won't be
operational. So,
safe, right?
no, no.
I
And
would
there's
think
so
that would
many.
alter the safety part of that.
Wearing a harness is already a really important thing and it
Mhm.
has to fit right and be put on right. And so,
I know, because we get the comment of, well, your product is more expensive than what we buy in the men's product line. I'm like, well, of course, our volume is far lower,
Smaller.
exactly.
right? It's
Yeah.
Yeah.
a niche market, but why would you not want to pay the surcharge upfront rather than being in a
Insurance.
situation, insurance,
Yeah.
liability,
Mm-hmm.
safety? Women are actually modifying their FR workwear at home,
Mm.
so chances are they do not have Nomex thread to make the proper modification. So again, I think
Yes.
there's so much more there.
Even thread, by the sourcing of
Yes.
thread in fabric is important too.
It
FYI,
Yeah.
is.
everyone. And
I would
you
have
wouldn't
never
even
thought of
think
that.
about that, but it
No.
is.
Yeah, the
And
things
there's
you
all
wear.
kinds of thread out there.
So,
Yeah.
And it's
Alicia,
expensive.
are there
Yeah.
tips and guidelines for people like me that don't understand fashion, really can't put
You
clothes
do.
together? I'm not very good at it. I have to have help or I have to see a picture, right? I'm pretty good at looking at pictures and thinking, "Oh, I might look okay in that." But are there tips and guidelines for selecting the right PPE
Yeah.
and the right fit and also the role of manufacturers, which is you pretty soon, right? Right now you're
Mhm.
outsourcing, you said, but you're gonna be manufacturing your own, um, workwear. So tell us a little bit about any kind of things that somebody like me that doesn't understand, right? What you both understand, how we can find proper fitting PPE and which manufacturers we should be or what we should look for in a manufacturer.
Definitely. I think number one is beware of the shrink it and pink it, right?
Mm,
And I
Mm.
say this because we come across it where, manufacturers of male workwear are just simply taking their patterns and making it smaller. And we
Mhm.
come up across it all the time where they've labeled it female workwear. But if you put that piece on top of, our piece, you will see the differences. Our bodies are built differently. Something
mhm.
as simple as the coverall, a male coverall, the crotch will go down to the knees, right? The armpits are big and baggy, like it's just built differently. So number one, be aware of, even if it's labeled female fit, for us, it's, made for women by women. But more importantly, we always pull in the feedback from women in the field. So women who are wearing our garments, women who are not. And we're always working to continuously improve our fit and functionality because, I remember working with a group of women from Impala Mining, and the Covergal was built for me and it worked for me, but it doesn't mean that it's going to be the perfect product for everybody else. And gathering the feedback makes it better. And for example, some of the amazing features we've built in because of that feedback are things like hidden pockets for sanitary items, right? Because you don't
Mm,
necessarily have access to those in a porta potty. So, and you want to keep them on your person, but hidden. So we've been building in these features based on feedback that women give us. And, it's so funny. Some women feel like they're insulting, me or the team at Covergals, but I say, no, no, like this is how we get better, right? And this is
Mhm.
how we expand our offering and make sure that everybody, feels included. So I would definitely stress, provide feedback to the company you're working with or even other manufacturers too, but certainly beware of the labeling of female workwear.
I it, this is awesome. We need to have more PPE conversations, Christy, I feel like,
yes,
because I
we
think we've
do.
only had a couple of people on our show to talk about it, but it's such an important topic.
Mhm.
And you, Alicia, have actually dove in even deeper, which we truly appreciate. And we,
And I think,
yeah,
Angela, just one thing before I forget, I think too, like, there's an organization that I'm a founding member. It's called Awesome. So it's Alliance of Women,
Mm.
manufacturers with PPE. So definitely, like,
ah,
please check out their website. I'll send you the link. But it's like,
yeah, do.
female PPE suppliers coming together, recognizing that, we want to make sure that companies have access to proper fitting, PPE and workwear. So I'll
So
send you
that
that
would
link.
show us where everyone can get everything from boots to
Yes.
glasses to vests to harnesses to everything. Okay, cool. Yes,
Yes.
we want
Yeah.
that. And we'll
Yeah.
definitely share it with our look at our website, everyone audience, and check it out. But
Mhm.
thank you, Alicia, for being on today. Christy and I were so excited to have you on.
Yes.
Please share with our audience any remaining, like how to get in touch with you, how to buy some cool cover gals before you leave.
Yeah, definitely. You can visit us at covergals.com, and there's even, a form to submit if you want to reach out to me directly. Like, please feel free to search me up on LinkedIn. I'd be more than happy to connect.
Thank you so
Thank
much for your
you.
time, Alicia. We appreciate you and everything you're doing in the manufacturing industry
Yes.
for providing PPE for us.
No, thank you for having me today.
Have a good day.
You too.